For this week's history video, I'd like to talk about how Obama used the economic crisis he inherited when he became president to promote socialism in the United States. Rahm Emanuel, now the mayor of Chicago and at that time Obama's first chief of staff, said it best. He said, "Never let a good crisis go to waste." And Obama sure didn't. He used that crisis to promote socialism and fundamentally to transform the United States in very important ways. The first was that when he took office, he demanded the passage of a gigantic stimulus package of economic spending in the United States, over almost $1 trillion of federal spending. And he said, "I want that on my desk when I take office." Congress had been sworn in 2 weeks earlier, so I can sign it when I take office. And he used his top-heavy majorities in the House and the Senate, including a 60-vote filibuster-proof majority in the Senate, to make sure that the bill passed. In fact, the Congress didn't even read the bill before they passed it. They just jammed every last pork barrel public works project that had been kicking around in the United States for decades into that bill. And to give you an idea of the enormity of that bill, the magnitude of the bill, the previous stimulus that Bill Clinton advocated when he took office in the teeth of a recession was $27 billion. This one was $900 billion, almost $1 trillion. And of course, the end result of it was negligible. Most of the projects weren't shovel-ready. The stuff that went through and happened were the cash transfer payments, the increase in food stamps and such, which had very little impact on the economy. And the public works projects, which could have had an impact, were delayed over a 2- and 3-year period and didn't amount to much. One of the most interesting provisions of the bill was the Cash for Clunkers program, where you could cash your old cars in and get a refund and help you buy a new car. And unfortunately, most of the new cars people chose to buy were Japanese, so it had very little, or German, so it had very little impact on the American economy. Then early in his tenure, General Motors fell apart and looked like it was going to go into bankruptcy. And Obama orchestrated a government takeover of General Motors, in which they completely swept aside the rights of the stockholders and the bondholders. The people who had lent GM money in the past were basically told to take a hike, and the union wages and pensions were protected, but nothing else was protected. And in the course of doing that, he gave no thought to the fact that 3/4 of GM's production was overseas, and it continued to be even when it was being run by the federal government. Obama also proposed Obamacare at that point, the takeover of the healthcare system in the United States, and wrapped it around his contention that this was essential for the economy to recover, and put it in part of his stimulus package and rammed it through. But the big effect of the stimulus package and of this deficit spending is that we could no longer use deficit spending to get our way out of this recession. It would no longer be possible to run a deficit when you needed to, for legitimate purposes, to try to stimulate the economy, because he'd given the whole thing away in the deficit spending. And the United States deficit in the past was about $500 billion, soared to $1.4 trillion, and it's remained very, very high to this day. And it created a tremendous instability in the United States, a lack of confidence in the dollar, and it created a situation where the administration couldn't do anything in the face of the recession. They'd already cut interest rates to zero. They couldn't go any lower. They'd already run a $1.4 trillion deficit. That couldn't go any higher. So we were reduced to impotence as we confronted the recession as it began to grip America. Thanks for watching.